This past summer, I traveled to the wilds of northern British Columbia with Northern Rockies Adventures and stayed at the spectacular Northern Rockies Lodge. I was accompanied by my son Drew and Canadian stillwater expert Phil Rowley. To say that these two were fun to travel with would be a significant understatement. The absolute beauty of the northernmost end of the Rocky Mountains is simply staggering, and the fishing there for a whole variety of species was off the charts. For lake trout, bull trout, and rainbow trout, this egg-sucking leech pattern was awesome for me. It's fairly easy to cast on a 6-weight rod with a weight-forward floating line. The setup was forgiving enough to cast all day. I'm not exactly sure what it is that makes this fly so attractive, but slowly stripped just above the bottom, it was positively magic. Nearly everywhere we fished, whether it was stillwater or moving, the fly worked for me. So here it is, just one more variation on an egg-sucking leech. The fly really uses only two materials, a pine squirrel Zonked strip and some Arizona Simi seal dubbing. Together, they produce a wonderful mixture of colors and movement. The fly starts with a robust Mustad 9672 streamer hook in a size 4 or 6. The hook is paired with a size large fluorescent fire orange conehead. Sometimes the conehead isn't especially easy to get over the hook barb and the bend of the hook. Mashing the barb on the hook definitely helps. Insert the hook point into the small hole of the conehead. It should then easily go around the bend and up to behind the hook eye. You can then get the assembly firmly secured in the jaws of your tying vise. .02 lead-free round wire is used to add some weight and to help stabilize the conehead on the hook. With the spool in your right hand, get hold of the bitter end with your left and begin taking touching wraps forward with the wire up the hook shank. After 12 to 15 turns, helicopter the wire to break it off close and clean. Make sure the wraps can be slipped up and down the hook shank, then position them and the conehead back a ways from the hook eye. Get hold of some super glue, here fly tire Z-Ment, and apply an ample drop to the hook shank behind the eye. Then, quickly slide the conehead and the wire wraps forward over top of the adhesive. This will help to lock everything in place and allow you to easily tuck in the tag end of the wire without the wraps spinning on the hook shank. For thread, I've loaded a bobbin with a spool of black UTC 140 Denier. Get the thread started on the hook shank behind the wire. After taking a few wraps rearward, snip off the excess tag. Continue taking thread wraps to further anchor the wire, then relocate your tying thread to the start of the hook bend. For this particular fly, I'm using purple Zonked pine squirrel, but black, brown, olive, or even chartreuse will work well. Snip one end of the Zonked strip free from the hide, and with the fur canted rearward, measure the hide to form a tail a hook shank in length. Separate the fur at that point, then anchor it with 2 wraps over top of the hide, 2 around just the hook shank, 2 more over top of the hide, then pull the Zonked back and take thread wraps up to about the midpoint of the hook shank. I like to use a hair clip to keep the Zonked strip pinned back and out of the way on my tying vise for the next couple of steps. Arizona Mega Simi Seal is used to form the body of the fly. Here I'm using black UV because of its purple highlights, but choose a color that complements whatever color Zonked you're using. Pull a really ample clump of dubbing free from the packet. You're going to need a fair bit. Pull down on your bobbin to expose about 4 inches of tying thread, then begin forming a noodle on that thread with the dubbing. This stuff can be a little tough to dub, but do your best. Once you have a decent looking noodle established, start taking wraps with it so the dubbing begins right at the base of the tail. Then take touching wraps forward to begin building the body of the fly. If you run out of dubbing, go back to the packet, grab some more, and produce another noodle on your tying thread. You do want to leave just a little room behind the back edge of the conehead. Now remove the hair clip to free the pine squirrel Zonked strip. Pull it forward and anchor it at the back edge of the cone in the same manner as you did at the tail. 2 over the hide, 2 over just the hook shank, then 2 more over top. With the Zonked strip well anchored, you can snip the excess off nice and close. Clean up the tie-down area with a few wraps of tying thread. To ensure the Zonked strip doesn't pull free, go back to your super glue and apply an ample drop to the thread wraps behind the cone. Then, take wraps over top of the adhesive to really lock everything in place. Get hold of the snipped off piece of Zonked strip and tease the fur out perpendicular to the hide. Use your favorite high-tech clip to get hold of the Zonked. Pull the fur out until the hide stops it from going any further. Then, snip the excess portion of the Zonked strip off. Using a second clip, grab the fur all the way up to the first clip, then pull the two apart ever so slightly and remove the first clip. This should leave a little space between the hide and the jaws of the second clip and allow you to snip the hide off and still have some butt ends of fur protruding from the clip jaws. Set this clip aside with an easy reach. Also, position a dubbing whirl and some plunger-style hackle pliers close by, as you're going to have your hands full in a minute. Pull down on your bobbin and create a dubbing loop, keeping the loop open with the middle finger of your left hand. Insert the butt ends of the fur between the two strands of the loop, then release the clip. If necessary, you can make minor adjustments to the fur at this point. Pick up your dubbing whirl and insert the hook into the bottom of the loop and give it a clockwise spin as if you're looking down on it. This will twist the fur between the thread strands, like so. I prefer wrapping without the whirl, so I'll take a few turns around the hook of my plunger-style hackle pliers to secure the bottom of the loop and allow me to cut the whirl free. Pull the loop up to vertical. Wet the fingertips of your left hand and preen the fur rearward. Begin taking forward, touching wraps, preening back as you go to form a sparse collar on the fly. When you reach bare thread, anchor it with a few tight wraps of your tying thread, then snip the excess off close. The fly should now look something like this. Get hold of your whip finish tool and use it to do a 3 or 4 turn whip finish. Seat the knot well and snip or cut your tying thread free. For added durability, get hold of your head cement, here Sally Hansen hard as nails, and squeeze an ample drop into the area behind the Conehead. Once it's secured, there's no way the thread wraps can come unraveled. The final step is to use a dubbing brush to tease out the Simi seal dubbing on the body. The end result should look something like this. As I said at the beginning, there was something absolutely magical about this pattern during my trip with Northern Rockies Adventures. Bull trout, rainbow trout, and lake trout, it worked for them all.